Hello, everyone. I'm Meher Walia, and welcome to Finding Finance. Our esteemed guest today is Sam S. Jain. I am most excited and looking forward to speaking with Mr. Jain. He has had an amazing and wildly successful career. I believe I consider him what we call a truly self-made man. I have known him most of my life, since I was in nursery school, and I've always known him as Uncle Sam, but I did not realize that he's such an accomplished individual. Mr. Jain is the founder, former CEO, and chairman of Fareportal, which is a conglomerate consisting of CheapOair, One Travel, Fareportal Media Group, Travelong, Royal Scenic, and Duke's Court Travel. CheapOair is the fourth largest online travel website in the US and Canada and is one of the largest private ones. It has about 2,500 employees with offices in New York, London, and India. Its sales are close to $3 billion. I hope you enjoy our conversation with Mr. Jain. Mr. Jain, thank you for joining us today. It is a pleasure to have you on the show. So, tell me, how is your life growing up back in India?
Well, thank you, Meher, for having me on the show. And congratulations on this podcast. It's quite
Thank
amazing.
you. Thank you.
I came in the early 90s to United States from India. And I was just like blown away when I first came. 90s in India was not, I would say a very fun place to be. And it wasn't a very developed country like the way we look at it today, right? It's doing much better today, like based on technology and all the outsourcing and all the development it has had. Early 90s was not that great. So my dad had a jewelry export business, and he asked me, to come to US to help him with the business, and I came. And, I was just like blown away with the amazing, I would say, the speed, the extraordinary, the architecture, the work ethics of the people here, and just like everything was in a grand scale, fast moving, fast paced, the business world. I mean, truly the land of opportunity, which I realized when I came. And it was, the vast differences between living in India and here. And it was evident the opportunities were immense. So I was just thrilled, like being a, young person at that time. And it was just like, just going to Manhattan the first time I went there, was like blown away with the skyscrapers. And yeah, it was just quite phenomenal,
And you originally came and stayed in New York?
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
And what part of India were you from?
Originally from New Delhi.
New Delhi.
Yeah.
So in 2003, you founded and launched Fareportal. What inspired you to launch Fareportal, shifting from your father's jewelry business?
Yes. So what happened was in the 90s, my initial goal was to look at my father's export business that he had on jewelry. However, the conditions were not that great in US at the time, in the early 90s. So eventually, I had a friend at the time who had a small home-based business where they used to work with a lot of consolidators, like they were airline wholesalers, consolidators that had wholesale pricing with the airline tickets. And I worked with him for a while, and it gave me a very good understanding of how the business worked. But it was a very, I would say, outdated and archaic way of working, like very like manual. Like they would have to check with 7 different consolidators and look at prices, and the way the prices were provided by the airlines were all manual, like in sheets, price sheets with a lot of conditions. So I realized that there was a huge opportunity to automate that process and really provide a much more efficient system than what it was. So we invested a lot in terms of we built it. I started a B2B company before Fareportal, and that's still around, by the way. And we basically our whole business model was to provide an efficient system so we could sell it to other travel agents, and that business grew a lot, and that gave me a very good understanding of how the back end of an airline business works. So like the pricing, the fares, the GDSs, the automation, the price differences between a normal fare that a consumer would see versus the wholesale rate, how to negotiate with the airlines and how to negotiate with consolidators. So the entire end-to-end process became much more evident to me. So then, in the late 90s, when I started my B2B business, it was doing really well. And then I think we realized that by late 90s, early 2000s, that the internet and e-commerce would definitely take over the B2B space, which was, I would say, more over the phone and, was still a little outdated. So we decided at that time to invest a lot in technology and built our own systems, which was designed early on for B2B space. It was like a white label solution that our B2B customers, travel agents, could then sell it to their retail agencies, and we would provide them the technology. That's how it was designed initially, our initial technology. So we sold that system to many travel agents, and we realized that they just were not effective at bringing in online traffic to those sites. So even though we had invested a lot of money, we basically realized that it was not a successful model because the travel agents that we were selling the system to did not know online marketing. So that was a revelation to us, and we had already invested huge amount of money into building those systems. So then we pivoted in around 2005. We pivoted to a B2C model, and we went direct to consumer, and we launched our first brand, CheapOair, and basically. We built our own direct, to consumer model with direct branding, marketing to bring traffic to our sites. And then we were very successful because we had built these systems so that we could make all the wholesale rates, consolidated fares, all of that available directly to consumers. And then also we did a lot of unique things. So, for example, multi-airline itineraries. We were the only company offering a toll-free number on every web page, so people could call our phone number and get human customer service, which was not available at that time. Like if you go to other websites like Expedia, it used to take 10 clicks to just find the phone number. So we had it available on every web page. We made it really easy. So our business was based on the premise that we could bridge that gap between a traditional travel agency and an online travel agency by having that hybrid approach and a hybrid model. So that's the story of Fareportal, how it got started.
I see. You did mention three terms there, if you don't mind giving
Yeah.
a brief definition of each. So what are consolidators, B2B model, and a B2C model?
So consolidators in our business are agencies that have special arrangements with the airlines where they get special prices and offers, which they generally sell it to retail travel agents. And a B2B model is when you are marketing your product to another business. So B stands for business to business, right? And B2C stands for business to consumer. Sometimes it's also called D2C, direct to consumer. So direct to consumer businesses are one when you have a business that sells directly to a traveler who is using that service, versus the middleman, which is the B2B. So let's say if we had a B2B business when we sold it to another retail travel agent. So that was considered a B2B business.
I see, because you're selling your service to another business.
Right. Product or a service, yes.
And then you shifted because you saw
Yes.
that gap in the market where you tried to bridge the traditional agencies and the new online agencies.
Yes. So when we launched our direct-to-consumer model through online channels, we realized that the big gap at that time when we launched our online travel agency, that there was no customer service available. It was very difficult to get in touch with a human to get support. So let's say if I buy a flight or a hotel, the only way to get service was through online, like sending out an email or any type of online method. What we did was we revolutionized that by providing a phone number, and it was very easily accessible, meaning every web page had our phone number prominently displayed and it was a toll-free number. And it was 24/7 supported.
So more accessible to everyone, much easier to,
Right.
call, figure out travel plans and such.
Yeah, so imagine you buy a ticket and you go to the airport and let's say there's a flight is canceled and you need to change your ticket or you need to get a refund. If you don't have a phone number, how would you get the service? Right? So that was a very difficult thing at that time. It was very difficult to connect. Like all the other agencies were not providing that service. So we created the unique model where you can actually call a customer service agent and get that service and support.
Ah, I see. And so you mentioned that required a heavy investment in technology. How
Yep.
did you obtain that funding?
Well, so my B2B business was the way we funded it, basically, from the revenue from my other business, basically, because we never raised money from other third parties.
Once you sold that service off to the different businesses, that allowed you to generate revenue, which you then funneled into
Right. My other business was generating revenue, so and income, so that I used that income to reinvest it back into the technology for this company.
What were some initial challenges and failures, and what did you learn from these failures that led you to success?
I mean, there were definitely a lot of challenges, I would say. Just building out the technology, integrating into GDSs, which are like global distribution systems, which have all the inventory from the airlines. Hiring the right people was a huge problem, because we are a very small company, so we can't really pay, the maximum amount. So we have to, be very cautious in terms of how we hire people. And then all the processes, right? So online travel companies are a very different model. So the processes are very different. Customer acquisition is very different. So how you acquire customers online is very different than on a B2B company that I had experience with. So we had to learn all this, right? And build that out. Then simple things like when you're processing tickets, you have to check the credit card and verify the transaction, whether it's true or not, because in B2B, we trusted the customer and we had never experienced any type of credit card issues. But in B2C, you're dealing with the world. Like anybody can come in and use your site. We don't know whether they're being honest or not. So there are a lot of these type of nuances that apply to B2C businesses. So we had to learn that, and we had to apply processes. We had to provide, when we were displaying our phone number, we had to make sure we have a lot of trained agents available. So we had to scale that up because when you show the phone number, everybody wants to call you. So, and it's a free call. So we were getting thousands and thousands of calls, and so we would have to staff it. And so that was a huge cost. And then you have to train those agents and build up the systems and telephony. So now you have to make sure you have heavy-duty telephony systems and IT infrastructure to support that. So there's challenges across the board when you're starting a business and you're scaling it up.
So a lot of different areas you had to cover.
Yes.
So after founding Fareportal, you acquired 3 companies: Travelong, RSH in Canada, and Conso Travel in Mexico. What does it mean when you acquire a company?
So acquiring a company basically means it's similar to buying something, right? So when you go out and you buy a house, for instance, you're buying a company, and you can buy it either through a full stock deal, or you could buy it through stock and earn out, or you could buy their assets. So there are multiple ways of buying a company. But it's very similar to just buying a house, for example, right? It's the same concept. And then you own the company, and then you have to operate it. So now you have to make sure that you're running it because you become the owner. So you have to maintain it, you have to grow it, you have to build it out.
I see. And what did that process look like?
To acquire a company?
Yes, when you acquired it.
So what happens is basically you find the companies you want to acquire. So you do, you first make sure, like, what's your purpose? Like, why do I want to acquire a company? It could be for multiple reasons, So for us, it was more international growth. So we wanted to grow in Mexico and Canada. So we said the easiest way is to acquire somebody local there. So you have to identify the reason and purpose. And then based on that, you have to say, hey, does this company provide me that benefit for my purpose, right? And then we also have to see whether they are for sale or not. And then if they are, then you basically have to sit down and negotiate a term sheet. Term sheet lists out all the. It's almost like a letter of intent where you list out all the terms and conditions of the deal before an agreement is signed. And then you have to, like, for example, the valuation, the purchase price, is there an earnout involved? Are you buying asset or stock? So all the details of whether the owner will stay or not, the founder, right? And so all those details are mentioned in the term sheet, and then you do due diligence. After the term sheet is signed, you have, let's say, 60 to 90 days to do due diligence on the company. And due diligence basically means you are checking to make sure that everything is in order, like all their, whatever they're saying is truthful, and all the documents and everything to make sure everything is appropriate. Once you've done the due diligence, you then basically sign the final agreement to sell, and then you basically they will do the stock transfer or asset transfer, and you pay them the money. That's how it works.
What's the difference between a stock transfer and an asset transfer?
So if you purchase the stock of the owner, let's say 100% stock of the owners, then you pretty much buy out the company as is, in the sense all their liabilities and their assets and their profits, everything. You bought it as is. If you buy just the assets of the company, you're in essence not purchasing the stock of the company, but you may buy, for example, and you're not taking over the liabilities of the company. So you're basically taking over their physical or non-physical assets. So non-physical assets can be their computer systems, their whatever hardware, if they have any property or such things. Non-physical assets can be their customer list, their databases, their marketing strategies, their accounting systems, and all the other things like that you can use to operate the business. Even their employees, right? So you can even get those. So that's the difference. Basically, it boils down to not taking over the liabilities.
Liabilities like debt per se?
Yes, debt. Mm-hmm. But then you have to make sure that the company doesn't have debt. Otherwise, the debtor can still have claims on those assets.
That's true. So I think you briefly touched on how acquiring these companies helped Fareportal grow. Do you mind expanding on that?
Sure. So, like when I said earlier that you have to define a purpose. You have to make sure what is our purpose, why are we buying the company? So our purpose at the time was we wanted to grow internationally. So we wanted to grow in Canada and Mexico because they were closer to US, our home market. So that's why we've then identified the businesses. We through references, we found these two companies. Then we basically went and negotiated and closed the deals. And in one of them, the founder stayed. The other one, the founder didn't stay, right? So eventually, I think the advantage we see is we were able to launch our brands in Canada, and we had launched it in Mexico. We don't have it right now, but in the future, we will be using it. So, but in Canada, we did really well in the sense we have a brand, CheapOair.ca. .ca stands for Canada. So we have a Canadian brand, and we do business there on our online side.
So allowed you to expand to different markets.
That's right.
In 2005, Fareportal launched CheapOair as its first consumer online portal. How did you design CheapOair to make it unique from its competitors?
Yeah, I think I touched upon it a little bit earlier. Mm-hmm. So our main differentiators when we first launched was a few different things, right? Why it really helped us was a hyper focus on one product, which was flight. So when we launched CheapOair.com, there was no competitor of ours, what that means is there was no category of a flight-only OTA. So we literally created the category of flight-only OTAs. Now there are many, but in 2005 there weren't that many, or I don't think there was even one. So we actually created that category, so that didn't exist because most of the online travel companies were doing everything. They were doing hotels, packages, and their primary focus was hotels. So that was a big differentiator. Flight focus was a big thing for us, focusing on one product. And then the second thing I would say is the customer service, the hybrid model. because the online travel companies were more focused on providing service through online means, and they didn't have that human service was not marketed. They had it, but it was very difficult to get, find their phone numbers. So that was a big difference for us. And the third difference was just our relationships and our ability, and our algorithms to surface the best deals for the customers that we could surface by using a lot of different, strategies, just having great negotiated rates for the airlines, integrating consolidated fares, having multi-airline itineraries, having multi-GDSs. So we were able to negotiate with two GDSs and had more content for our customers. So these are different various strategies that we used.
I didn't know you were the first in the flight only category for online travel agencies.
I can't think of anyone at that time in 2005 who was doing that. Now there are lots. so I think we did create that flight only OTA category.
Well, now CheapOair has really grown. How did you grow it into the multi-billion-dollar company it is today?
Yeah, I think, after we launched and we started online marketing, it was just exponential growth because we had a really good product, we had amazing service, and we really did a fantastic job of scaling up the business, and we just, grew exponentially. And I think it was just a combination of good execution and just focus on one product, do it right, and we had relationships with hundreds of airlines, and I think just everything, and I believe the timing was also right because at that time I think there was less competition in the flight-only business.
Could you talk a bit about the roles you've played at Fareportal and CheapOair?
Yeah, so I was always the founder and CEO for many years now. After COVID, I'm no longer the CEO. I'm the executive chairman and founder. But I've played, but being the CEO, I've done everything. So from marketing to technology development. I'm not a techie, but I'm a product guy. But I can, help. I work very closely with all our, tech staff and building technology, the entire platform, right? Building the product side, working with all our team members, and hiring, recruitment, strategy, execution, marketing, working, with our finance teams or our legal teams, all the support team members, IT infrastructure. So, and again, it's a team collaboration, but you have to be, basically as a CEO, you have to be the catalyst to bring everyone together, give them direction, give them strategy, one man can't do everything. So you have to work collaboratively with everyone. But I think I used to just go into a lot of depth and, help people with the execution.
So it takes a lot to oversee an operation of this size.
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah, I used to work literally 7 days a week. Even on my vacations, my family would complain, I would be on calls from 7 in the morning to noon, on vacations. So yeah, I was working minimum 70, 80 hours.
No days off.
No, yeah, no days off. People could reach me on weekends, anything, yeah.
And what does your typical day now entail as a chairman?
Oh, as a chairman?
Yeah.
Well, as a chairman in the beginning, it was, I would say, more leisurely, and but I think I got bored very fast in the sense not doing anything. So it's more about now. It's more about strategy, hiring, recruitment. So the entire leadership team, recruitment, giving them direction, strategy, corporate governance, compensation, and then just motivating the teams. Also, just understanding the external market, how it is, the competition, and just looking at conditions on what's next, right? How do we invest? Setting the objectives, budgeting, what's the budget of the company, approving those budgets. And I don't do it alone, but we have a very very nice board that people for many years who have been with us. So we do it together, and. We review the management team's presentations and their budget proposals, We even do their reviews and give them feedback and corporate governance, compliances, information security, IT. So there's a lot of functions of a board to make sure that the company, is run effectively, and company is able to meet its, business goals.
Includes a variety of aspects.
Yes, 100%. Holding the management team accountable is another big one. Right?
So let's talk about the business of travel, which, as you said, includes flights, hotels, and cars. What are the advantages of booking through your site compared to booking directly from airlines?
Yes, so I think the benefit of booking through, let's say, our site, CheapOair or One Travel would be, specifically from us, would definitely be, the big one would be that you can reach us, at any time, speak to a human agent, and we get very good compliments from people. Like a lot of my friends have used us, and they've complimented me, and customers that I hear from, where they were stuck at the airport because of the airlines, there was a delay or a cancellation, and they were able to reach our agent, and their agents were able to book them right on the fly with no, there was literally no hold time, right? And they were able to speak to a human, and they were able to get support. So in terms of when there's a problem, just having somebody there to support them through the journey is very helpful. The other thing is you can compare rates with hundreds of airlines on our site. You can get multi-airline itineraries, which may not be available on the airline direct website. So if, let's say, you're going to Milan and there's a cheaper fare connecting in London and there's two airlines involved, we would have a better price than, let's say, a direct if you go to an airline website, right? Because they will not offer you connection with another airline. Most likely, if there's an alliance partner, they will. But if it's a non-alliance airline, they may not have that content. So that diversity of content and ability to compare, those benefits are available on us and some of the other online travel agencies as well. I think customer service is even more unique with us because I think a lot of online travel agencies don't have a easily, readily available phone number. And then I think those two are the biggest ones. But then there are a lot of other ancillary products that are available on our site that may not be available on the airline's website. Those are the big ones.
So CheapOair particularly caters to flight bookings, as you said. How come you never expanded or got involved into hotel and car bookings?
We do offer hotels and car bookings on our sites and packages. All three are available. We just don't promote it heavily because of our continuous focus on flights and continuously, making it better and better all the time. So it's a hyper focus on that product. But we do have great hotel deals and car rental deals as well as packages on our sites.
So branding on what you're known off of already, so flights.
That's correct. Yeah.
So given the increased competition in travel services now, what are the margins like on flight tickets, hotel, and car bookings?
Yeah, so generally speaking, hotels has the best margins. And then I would say car rentals and then flights. That's traditionally the case, and which is also true. Flight business will have the lowest margin out of the three products. But then it's all about the volumes, right? So you have to make sure you're doing high volumes to be able to make it a profitable venture.
Which would you say has the highest volume out of those three?
Oh, for us, you mean?
Yes.
We're flights.
Flights. But I mean, in general, in the travel business, would you say they're equally?
I mean, if you look at, it's a great question. I think in dollar value, I would say it's flights. Yeah.
How did COVID affect the travel industry?
Yeah, I think COVID was, especially with flights, it was had a huge negative impact because the business was literally shut down for many months. So it was a huge impact on the business, even for us, right? So, pre-COVID, we were much larger. I think we were almost double the size, both in terms of employees and sales. So we had to really, being a private company, we didn't really have a choice, to survive, we had to cut our, cost and team size. And I think even the sales then had, been cut. So yeah, COVID definitely made a huge difference to the way any travel business operates.
So the travel industry got hit with the COVID.
Oh yes, yeah. I mean, if you remember, there was a complete shutdown for a while, right? And nobody travels, and I think flight business had the biggest impact. Even the hotels were still doing. Some of the hotels were open and they were doing okay. Especially the resorts who were located outside the city, where people could drive and it was private, and those hotels I think did okay. Flight business was affected the most just because nobody wanted to be in an enclosed space with hundreds of people because of the fear of catching COVID. So they did not really do well. So even the flights were flying, but there was only like few travelers on the plane. So
Decreased volume.
oh yes, massively, yeah.
On a lighter note, everybody loves a good deal and on travel. In your opinion, when is the best time to book a ticket? A few months in advance, maybe a few weeks?
Yeah, that's a very good question. I think the that's a $1 million question, right? When to buy the ticket, and it's not an easy answer because first of all, airlines and even travel companies do a lot of revenue management, so they're continuously fluctuating, right? The prices. So a lot is dependent on their load factors. So load factor is basically the total number of seats that are actually available to be booked after the sales have happened. So let's say if an airline has 200 seats to sell on that flight, if a lot of seats are available, majority of the seats are available, the prices would be lower. And if less seats are available, the prices would go up for the remaining seats, even if it's economy. So even in economy class, you could be sitting next to a person who has paid much less than you, for example, right? So it's the same seat. It's just people pay different prices because of revenue management that the airlines do based on the load factors of the particular flight. So if there's a holiday period, you will always notice the prices go up, right? If it's a weekend travel, you'll always notice if you're leaving on a Friday to Sunday, you'll always pay the highest amount because that's the busiest time, Friday evening to Sunday evening. If you're flying on Thanksgiving, if you're leaving on a Wednesday, returning on a Sunday, you will pay the highest amount. So I think traveling on days which are less traveled, which are like Tuesdays and Saturdays, are like the least amount of travel days. So you generally will get the cheapest rates if you travel on a Tuesday or a Saturday. And then apart from that, you may also, there are certain times when I've heard is airlines update their seat inventory and prices. Generally, I don't know if it's true, but maybe it might be a myth that Tuesday nights, airlines sometimes update their inventory and prices, so you can test that. But from what I've heard, it's generally done constantly. So and now it's also become algorithmic. So it's not even like humans. It's all driven by technology. So it's happening continuously. The prices are changing. The seats, it depends on the seats sold. So whenever there's a higher period of travel, the seats will be less. The prices will go up. So it's demand and supply, right? Mm-hmm. So the higher the demand and the supply is less, the prices will go up.
I think I'll have to check on Tuesday night, see if that
see if that myth is true.
debunk the myth.
Yes, exactly.
You mentioned days, so Tuesday and Saturday. Are there any times of a day that's cheaper, morning, afternoon, night?
Yeah, so that's a great question, by the way, and a great point that red-eye flights generally are cheaper. So odd hours. So some airlines may offer a better deal if you fly late night. So sometimes certain airlines do offer very late night flights like 11 p.m., midnight, or connecting flights will be, by the way, cheaper than direct flights also. And then, Tuesdays and Saturday travel would be cheaper than traveling on a Friday and a Sunday. So, there are a lot of nuances in how to find the cheapest deal.
Well, the world of business has changed rapidly over time. Where do you see your business 10 years from now?
Yeah, I mean, that's a phenomenal question. I think that the way looking at it from now, looking at it today, I mean, it's an easy guess where it's headed. But again, things can change even more, right? Like 10 years is a long time. Like things change now in every 2 to 3 years. So considering what we know today, I think the evolution is more towards AI for sure. So how do we integrate AI into all our products and services? I think that's a big one. Mobile apps is another big one. I think that's going to be prevalent and will become the primary way people interact. Then the other would be, I would say, social. So how do you connect and work with social websites like Facebook or Instagram or TikTok and others? So those three are the big ones that I think are a must for any company, right? That if you want to succeed, you have to start thinking about that. And then I think the chatbots and all also, like for customer service and support, I think will become more prevalent. And now because of AI, that those are becoming, so how I think there will be a very thin line between an actual human agent and a chatbot or a voice bot, because even the voice bots will become so sophisticated that you won't be able to differentiate between a true human and a voice bot. They'll both sound the same, right? So they will almost be similar experiences. So those kind of evolutions, I think, are probably a must. Trip planning through chatbots or through AI tools would become very common, I would say, through AI assistants. Maybe even booking a flight through an AI assistant might be on the way.
On the topic of AI, do you foresee any other sort of impact AI will have on the travel industry as a whole?
I mean, I think the AI will affect every part of travel, or even how we, so driverless cars, so car rental will become easier, right? The not sure if there will be pilotless planes. Who knows? And then thinking about what I just mentioned about the voice bots, where they would be servicing as if they were humans. The experience, I think, in a hotel, like, I don't think there will be any check-in agents needed, right? So could be all driven through AI, that check-in process. So I think the entire like trip planning and what sightseeing to do and all of that. So AI would be transformative, I think, for the entire business.
So endless possibilities.
Endless, yes.
So shifting gears from the future, we'll now focus a bit on the past. Retrospectively, what would you have done differently if you had a choice to do things over?
Yeah, I mean, look, in any business, you make a ton of mistakes, right? So, I mean, those are endless. And I think I think we have to build a culture of being able to make mistakes, right? Especially smaller ones. Hopefully, these are small, so you can learn and hopefully not trying to make big mistakes. And I think building the culture internally, removing that fear of it's okay to make mistakes and learn from those, so that you continuously get better. Like there's not going to be any business which will not have learnings and mistakes. So I think it's more about like a cultural thing, how you create that culture as the CEO of the company, where it's acceptable to make mistakes, and people should not have to fear that, right? And that gives them the courage to try new things. But then again, mistakes are up to a certain point, right? So people should also understand not to make big mistakes that can, let's say, have a major negative effect on the company, which can, so I think, yeah, there's always a learning, and it's continuously evolving, changing, and if there, if you don't learn from a failure, then it's not a, if rather the other way is, if you learn from the failure, it's not a failure anymore.
That's good. That's a good quote. Yeah. Once you learn from those smaller mistakes, you could prevent the bigger ones you're talking about.
That is correct, yeah. And I think that's why you want to continuously, compound by trying smaller things and evolving rather than doing. You want to do big things, but in smaller components, so that even if you make those small mistakes, you can easily reverse them and learn from them and continuously evolve. So that's like a 1% improvement every day that will compound and become very big.
Like a learning opportunity.
Exactly, the continuous learning, right?
Yes, always.
Always.
I know you are involved in some philanthropic ventures to give back to the community. Can you shed some light on some of those initiatives?
Yeah. So, yeah, I think from the beginning we've been involved in as a company and as an individual. So we have partnered with Covenant House, which is an organization in New York City that helps a lot of homeless youth, with finding job opportunities or other support. So we have worked with them in the past. In fact, we even did a program with them many years ago, where we hired few of their people and trained them to become travel agents. So they were, homeless youth, and we basically provided them a few months of training, to how can they become a travel agent. And then we worked with, for mayor's office with code drives, that was a Fareportal initiative. And then, I belong to some of so I'm a Hindu, I belong to the Hindu temple in Queens. I'm on their board, so I support them. And then also some other, Hindu organizations. There's a organization called YICG, which is local in Long Island, that I support as well. And then some hospitals, as well as animal shelters and other organizations, locally. I think one of the things we like to do is as many local charities that we can support, the better it is. And India, we have a big office, so we do a lot of programs there with local charities. Some of them are related to environment. Some of them are related to young people's education support, those kind of things.
That's really great to see you giving back to your community in so many different mediums. Not just one aspect, but so many different aspects.
Thank you.
Now, for the question I ask every guest on my podcast. For kids in high school and college looking to enter the world of business, what advice would you have?
It's a great question, Meher. I think you'll fall into that category. So, yeah, the people who want to do now you're seeing many young people founding companies, and that's an amazing thing, right? To start early. I think I did that, so I think I can tell you from experience, and it's fantastic because I think the youth have so much energy, and they're like super smart, and they can use both their energy and their intelligence to go out and succeed. I think one thing that they're missing is the experience, right? So I think that that's where I would say one thing that they should try and do is just continuously learn. Like listen to your podcast can be one example of that. So learning is great, right? And I think learning vicariously through others' mistakes is great because that way you don't have to make the same mistakes. So the more you read, reading is amazing. So, and then you can basically also do a lot of, you can also find mentors in your industry. So let's say you're looking to get into tech or internet business, direct to consumer. Find people who have done that before. Make them your mentors. One way to get them interested is get them on your board. Give them a little bit of maybe stock options or something. Get them on the board so that you have people with experience who have been there and done that, because they can teach you a lot of what not to do, right? So if you can avoid those mistakes, they are very, very, I would say, beneficial, because you can avoid massive amounts of losses, by having people like that. Have a well-rounded board, like people who come from, different specializations, like make sure there is people from law, people from HR, or people from finance, right? Who have different areas of specializations in your board that are helping you continuously to learn and supporting you, right? Make sure your compensation and all is aligned with your interest with the employees. Treat the employees like the best, right? So the employees are the ones who are going to make you successful. So make sure you hire the right people. Hiring is one of the most important things you will ever do, right? So don't compromise on hiring. Always hire for EQ, because you can always make sure they're humble and good learners and curious people. Don't hire only for smartness, because if they don't have the right attitude and they're not team players, then it won't work, right? So I think hire smart people, but make sure they're very humble and good team players. And other than that, like if you're gonna start a business, I would say just keep your cost low, overhead low. Try to focus on one product, specialize and do amazing on one product. I think would be definitely very helpful.
Thank you so much for that advice. I appreciate you taking us on a trip and journey into the travel industry and how CheapOair operates. Really appreciate it. Thank you for being here today.
Great. Thank you, Meher. It was a pleasure being on your podcast. Thank you.
Thank you for listening.